What is up, you muffin munching muggles? Welcome to Fiction and Reality. We all love a good high-impact anime battle, one that leaves the characters bloodied and broken, seeping and sopping in tears, some crying more than others. But most importantly, we care about how the fight is brought to an end. Anime fights have leveraged the one-shot takedown to illustrate the progression of technique, combat style, and to over-exaggerate the Cassius Thundercock grade aura of its characters. License and pigmentation, please. Let's explore when the one-shotting trope in anime heightens versus cheapens the narrative or combat, and when fans hate and love to see the device implemented. Listen, sometimes you just gotta whip out the old snail trail and leak out some aura. We've seen All Might, or Tadeku, Dad Might, pump his stump and break his fist through a slime monster's face to do so. Sometimes the one-shot mechanism in anime is used for solely this purpose, to say, hey, you don't want to throw gang signs up at this guy. He occupies a threshold of power that can't be reckoned with. Or they do it merely to establish the credibility of a standing authority figure. It's no different than when Oda wanted to display the nature of the beast that was Kaido by having him one-shot Luffy in their first engagement. The question, however, is, can this mechanism of the trope be abused? Wow, I think it's time for some of you JJK fans to come out of the closet. Gojo is a unique character and all, but holy guacamole stuffed in a cannoli. Does this man power creep to hell when he gets screen time? Now, JJK accomplished the objective of establishing presence with Gojo every time he's on screen, making the audience aware that he maintains occupancy at the highest level of Jujutsu sorcery. I mean, what else are you supposed to say about him when you see another man turn someone into a PB&J? Hold the PB. When one-shotting establishes the prominence of the character's power, the impact of the device can become dull if the element is inserted too frequently. We don't truly feel Gojo's struggle combat-wise in the world of Jujutsu no Kaisen, though we might catch him engaging in a little light scuffle or some racially motivated violence for the hell of it. We know that he has the acuity and power to simply one-shot his enemy whenever he chooses to do so, or at least as of now, which is what we saw him do when he ripped Jogo's head off from his neck. It's important to differentiate the one-shot mechanism being used in the scenario from a strategized finishing blow, which comes with consequences or limiters, or perhaps might be the character's last resort. It's also prevalent to distance characters like Saitama, whose entire character is built around the concept of one-shotting his enemies as a comedic gag or framing, meaning the consistency of that device is what breathes life into the narrative of One Punch Man as a whole. I think we can all agree that some of the shit that your Unk is doing is anything but his last resort. Gojo's whole character arc centers around exploring if his entire identity is defined by his strength and prominence as a Jujutsu sorcerer, rather than his own intrinsic qualities. I want your opinion. Do you think the overbearing displays of power by Gojo and Jujutsu Kaisen, encompassing his one-shot capability, create new insight in this ring of things? I can at least concede the point that Gojo did reconfigure his domain expansion to prevent his citizens from turning into tung brain rot, especially when he did not have to take that route. In the same vein, he walked down Hanami like she ran off from the plug and ignored Jogo when he was about to boil some human steaks. A balance is needed when incorporating the one-shot mechanism in an anime. It is one of, if not the easiest ways to establish a character's prominence and power level within a story. Frequency cross-links association, meaning it risks cheating the audience out of a battle by starving the substance and struggle from the fight. Characters compound credibility when they trudge uphill, veering on the brink of death. That struggle grounds the fight without playing excessively on the extremes of power, which most prefer over, hey, the OP character just showed up to kick some ass, delete System 32 and cloud wipe the whole gang, which leaves the air thin of any sense of fear of loss or failure. While it creates a rush of euphoria to observe a character one-shotting the enemy, balance must be restored to preserve both the integrity of the character and the integrity of the fight itself. Ah yes, the old power-up, then one-shot takedown stick. Nothing like hearing the old bones go snap, crackle, pop, am I right? If we want to talk about cheapening the resolution of a narrative or fight by one-shotting enemies, leading with a power-up, especially one that wasn't earned, cheats the audience out of a good battle. And when they one-shot them after getting that power-up, makes it worse. We all remember when Deku fought Bird for Brains, right? I don't really know what those boys had going on, but they were moving like the mafioso, so I'm not repping red or blue. We're focusing solely on the use of the one-shot here. The fight versus Overhaul was grounded, fulfilling, and the outcome was ambiguous, until out of nowhere we see Deku go 100%, full cowling, maintaining his state solely due to Aries' quirk. This guy was essentially repairing his bones faster than he could break them. This arguably could be seen as an ass pull of a sorts, or an area of plot convenience, because up until this point, I believe the mantra was that Aries couldn't really maintain focus of her quirk. But putting that aside, focusing on the outcome following the power-up, I would say that the fight's resolution was cheated of substance, or at least some substance due to the abrupt Zenkai boost, but even worse, how Deku in this form absolutely obliterated Overhaul with a single punch. All anime battles must have something at stake to keep the audience engaged. Lemillion sifted through hell and high water to keep Eri from dying. Even with his quirk expunged, Night Eye fucking pulled up and got his shit lambasted by Bird Corleone over here. And what happens when Deku shows up? The risk gets dispelled by the power-up, but the engagement that follows makes for an even more desperate case of give the hero a power burst of energy to end the fight syndrome. My issue with implementing the one-shot takedown in this scenario is that there is no shifting of chess pieces, no part of a strategy that was invoked in the slightest following the power-up, leaving Deku doing air zoomies and Gumu Gumu no Gatlings that appear out of nowhere and securing one cheap path to victory against Overhaul. There are various ways to implement the one-shot takedown, but doing so following a sudden power burst cheapens the substance of the battle, sullies the sacrifice made before it, and ignores the strategy aspect, devising a plan to take down an enemy. One-shots are rarely inserted in this fashion because the creators know that the audience wants the refreshing taste of a new form, the power gap it overcomes, and the new type of struggle it brings to be put on full display. But even more than that, they want the outcome of the battle to feel earned by the victor. Deku blasted through Shizaki's defenses without a single issue. Then he pushed Overhaul's teeth through his esophagus in a mere matter of seconds or minutes, all without the risk of drawbacks from overextending his quirk due to Eri, who allowed him to heal bones faster than he could break them. The most commonplace use of the one-shot is without question to establish a character's presence and volume of power within the world. When the one-shot device is extended directly after a power-up, there is an immediate risk of cheating the fans from deriving substance from the battle and the meaning of the numerous sacrifices that preceded it, which only amplifies when limiters or nullifiers are absent, as they were in the case of Deku vs. Overhaul. Final blow. Who remembers Hunter x Hunter, the anime we won't be alive to see the end of due to a certain someone's unhealthy addiction to Dragon's Quest and hiatuses? But click your heels 3 times and maybe your wishes will come true. The finishing blow in an anime must be earned. This doesn't funnel directly into the one-shot trope, but I do think it's relevant in highlighting the atmosphere and conditions in which the one-shotting mechanism thrives. In the fight between Gonfreeches and Neferpitu, the cat-man-girl thing in Chimera Ant arc, fans get to experience the transformation of Gon into a brawlic Chadlight. In this instance, we'll label this a final blow as it doesn't mirror the nature of a one-shot, which I'll define as first direct contact with the opponent leading to an overwhelming victory. In one shot. The one-shot mechanism used in anime typically runs the risk of sinking the narrative substance when immediately used after a new power-up, such as with Deku's 100% full cowling emerging mid-fight against Overhaul, swiftly leading him to deck bird for brains in the snoz without any drawbacks. This particular use of the final blow in Hunter x Hunter works because there is a sacrifice that must be made for Gon to obtain the power needed to put Pito on a t-shirt. In order to avenge Kai and acquire the power to defeat Pitou, Gon sacrifices future potential and thus his ability to ever use Nin again. Overcome by powerlessness, despair, and rage. Let's think about the All Might versus All for One fight. Relinquishing cherished attributes of one's life to acquire a desired outcome gradually spikes the pressure within combat. The guts to forfeit one's own life, giving all of their blood, sweat, and tears for the sake of one cause, it reinforces meaning and purpose lurking beneath the surface of every anime battle. Final blow should also feel as if the character has had to fight through hell to get to the point of breaking out that ability, or to make things even more interesting, locked into an all-for-nothing situation where hitting the attack spells out the difference between losing everything or nothing at all. Final blows require a setting where the tension is cultivated before the trigger is pulled. If one were to use the final blow mechanism as a window, the one-shotting trope needs a developed environment surrounding this. Moreover, they should be used sparingly as many viewers enjoy the blood and grit of the actual battle itself versus an over-exaggerated display of power difference between a character and their opponent leading to a battle concluding within mere seconds. Blood pumping pressure and the ambiguity in how the anime battle will truly resolve breed uncertainty. Uncertainty breeds curiosity, the type of curiosity that calls fans to latch onto the story out of eagerness to know what will happen next. The one-shotting trope in anime can be used perfectly if the skill set and atmosphere are aligned. As more than establishing a character's presence or advanced levels of power, it can be pulled to draw attention to levers of skill, which displays the arduous training and homing of potential that went into the mastery of the technique, which now gives me an excuse to talk about Captain Useless Kid and his father Shanks. There is no anime where one-shots reign supreme more frequently than One Piece, and all to show us that there are levels to this shit. Captain Useless Kid was a little cranky because he lost an arm to the Shanks pirates in an encounter 2 years ago. This man pulled up to Elbaf with his band of bad boys and essentially said, "I'm about to air out your whole block, your whole fleet, and give you a tight taper, no alcohol." One-shots need a build-up to amplify their effect, and holy hell did we experience some Back to the Future bullshit hockey mastery from Shanks. This man's hockey is so sharpened that it lets him see events of the future before they even happen. And when he saw that kid was actually about to let the clip ride on the shipyard, Shanks of teleportation instant transmissions before Captain Useless and hit him with the belt to ass departure, departing kid's entire crew into the sea. And then robbing this man of the poneglyph so he couldn't find the One Piece. Then his boys Dory and Bragi came up to clean up the mess. Shouting is used to burn the vast power difference into the eyes of the audience. It can create inflection points for certain characters or narrative arcs through a fall from grace, which we see play out between Shanks and Kid on the seas of Elbaf. They create an opportunity to further refine a character's attributes, introduce a new aspect or skill to the audience at large, while in gradual pursuit or progression of the final blow to come. One-shotting is a specific skill that can veer a story off course and cheapen a fight, but if wielded right, it presents the opportunity to positively shape a character's standing and the audience's attitude toward them, and the world at large. Surprise, surprise, one-shotting in anime isn't simply just restricted to Chad-like gigamogging and bleeding aura every which way, but also can carry narrative focus, which we see when Luffy confronts Charlos, a celestial dragon, for shooting Hachi, one of the fishmen. While adding credibility to presence is indeed a trademark of the one-shot trope, a device which usually leans on displays of raw power to build anticipation, it can also insert a narrative focus and means through moral exploration, which essentially voids raw displays of power in its place in order to lean into the crushing blow which occurs in One Piece. The physical power gap wasn't shunted into the limelight when Luffy confronted the Celestial Dragon, but a moral and ethical gap was. You can't hit a Celestial Dragon, they are a protected class of people. That was the rule of the One Piece world, not in the slightest part of Luffy's philosophy. The one-shot punch against Charlos represents a bridging of that gap and a victory over status and prestige, highlighting that when residing within a world that is primarily governed by authority figures who see themselves as gods, and others as ants. The one and only equalizer is strength. If you have no strength, if you have no power, then all the rank and file in the world won't secure your position atop the throne of the world, which is why Emu is so keen on snuffing out the history of the world. So that strength and power in the narrative of those who once overcame will not surface to inspire a new generation of power to upend the status quo. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the one-shot anime trope. Do you think it's overused or misused, or used just perfectly? Share your thoughts below, comment below your favorite one-shot scene, and drop some recommendations. If you want more analysis of your favorite characters or fictional worlds, go ahead and smash that like button below, turn on that notification bell, and subscribe for more. This channel is ever evolving and will continue to grow to appeal to the audience at large. Remember, the direction of progress is forward, and it's only up from here. I will leave a link to my socials in the description below. And with that, remember, if ever you're lost in a forest tree, words strip your mind from fantasy, and look to the window of the world, and there your mind will run free.